they're not buying the real estate because they want to live in it.
But like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. We call them poor. Okay? Right? Like, the point is, if you have the superior asset, it's going up forevermore. Forever.
Right, I mean, right, but I mean, we can all look Bitcoin sort of
forevermore. People that use fiat currency as a store of value, we call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. 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 Okay.
Okay. Yes, man. What is going on? What is going on? Let me get myself up here on the screen. Let me know you can hear me, man. Let me know you can see me. What's going on? Hey, my name's Gerald Peters. Welcome to the Peters Report and the Money Flow. Try to go live here every Monday and Friday at least. Let me check something here. Orientation settings disabled while live. Audio. Test. Yeah, man. Looks good. Let's take this down. All right, man. Loud and clear, huh? Loud and clear. There's the damn. Huh. Oh, sorry. I had the wrong button. What's up, Justin? Abel? Everybody says loud and clear, man. Excelente. Let's bring it in right here. Hope everybody's doing good, man. Hey, we're going to get in. We're going to look at the wind. See what's going on. Markets, it's a little boring today. Didn't really do much. Everybody's waiting on the Fed here. Let me post this. Somebody put this in Discord for me. I'd appreciate it. If you don't have a trading family, man, you might consider coming over and working with us. And just about done here. Gets hard to run these things by yourself, man. The kids are in bed and the big dogs are out. How about that? What's up, man? Instagram, you probably get a better view over at YouTube, man. Same handle, Full Auto 11. And we're gonna get in. We'll look at some Bitcoin here, man. Let's look at some oil. We're gonna look at a few things here. What I call the wind.
Head of Research. Good morning to you. Want you to weigh in, if you could, on this debate we've been having, or I should say the debate maybe the White House is having over these jobs numbers and what it portends for the economy and therefore what it portends for the Fed.
We can see that Fed fund futures jumped from roughly 2.3 cuts by the end of this year to almost 3. So on the heels of that jobs report, the bond market essentially is saying that the labor market is now deviating further from the Fed's target than inflation, and therefore justifying actually one additional cut. So I think that makes sense to me, because we know inflation, and that August CPI gets reported this week, may be elevating, but that the markets are going to begin to view that as transitory. Whereas the weakness in the labor market, as you know, once it begins to weaken, it's very hard to reverse that momentum. So I think it's important for the Fed to intervene quickly.
Man.
And are you of the view 3 times this year?
So my man here is talking about intervening quickly. So we'll see. And I think that's what we're going to see reflected in the charts here. Put this over here. I keep fucking with my phone. If we look at, let's pull it up. Let's look at the wind. Pull up the continuous contract of gold. And what the hell? All right, so we're looking at gold here. We've got a strong uptrend. This is $3,631 an ounce. $3,631. You can see the RSI here. Relative strength. The relative strength index, the RSI, is at 79 on a daily chart. Slightly bullish signal price crossing the center line. Oh, that was back over here. Now, if you look back, gold was caught in this crazy. Each one of these bars is 1 day, okay? So that doesn't look like a lot, but right here, that's a couple months. So from about April all the way into August, really into September, from April to September, like, watch this. From April all the way to September, the price is basically the same. I mean, it moved up and down, up and down, up and down. And maybe if you're nimble enough as a trader, you got some of that. But as a buy and holder, it's really been a weight game here on gold. A lot of people are probably not even in gold. And so gold, which we're in the UGL, that's the 2 times leveraged gold. And then I hold futures contracts on the Coinbase platform, which Coinbase is the only platform I recommend for cryptocurrency, any of that stuff. Hey, click the QR code or hit that link in the comments there in the beginning. What's up, Justin? What's up, Luke? If you hit that link in the beginning, what's up, Instagram? If you hit that link in the beginning of the chat there, you can go to the newest edition of the Peters Report. I'll try to have it out on Sunday night. Been struggling, looking for some writers. If you know how to write, if you can count to fucking 4, maybe you could be on my team. Here we are. We're looking at gold. Gold's just running right now, man. I took down some. I'm going to do it tonight. I'm waiting to kind of see what happens. But, I mean, we could be on a parabolic run. Not parabolic, but if you go back over here and look at this run back in here at the beginning of the year, it ran from January into March. I mean, that's a 2-3 month, 2-month run. And the RSI was pretty pushed the whole way through. So I think we probably could keep pushing higher. We'll see. What's up, Ronnie? Sis gang. What's up, man? Hope you got paid this weekend. Everybody should be getting dividends every weekend if you're in the second income stream. We can help you do that. We've got a community around it. I think that helps big time. It has for me, because when I was first putting this strategy together, almost a good 18 months, I did it by myself. And sometimes it's hard to contain it. And you want to just talk to people about it. So that's what we're there for, man. Luke said every weekend. That's what I'm talking about. TMF. we're going to get on that one. That one's the one I've been building for a while. And, I start to feel like a broken record. Stage 1 adding to TMF, stage 1 adding to TMF for 2 fucking years. And now finally it looks like it to be going up. And I think this is because of what Tom Lee was saying. People are anticipating higher inflation, which means they're going to have to combat this shit. Except we got the president over here fighting Jerome Powell, wanting them to lower rates, while Powell and them think they're fighting inflation. They kind of want to go at it different ways is what the problem is. And that's why you're seeing gold go up. We looked at gold. I wouldn't get in it here. Should have already been in it. I think we do a pretty good job at the MFG staying on top of it. If you take advantage of the newsletter, you can go to petersreport.com. In the back on page 36, I think it's 36. No, 38. You're going to see this is my weekend. Oh, there we go. I'm sorry. Share it now. This is my weekend homework board right here. Okay. This is my weekend homework board. And you'll see I'm looking at stage 3s. I got 1s. I got the wind listed. And you might think, man, what's up with the wind? Well, and that's what we're going through right now. And we had the wind at the top is gold, GLD. And then we're going to the TLT. The reason you got GLD and TLT is there's just enough anxiousness out there in the markets. My man says dividends have been growing weekly. Happy to hear that. Happy to hear that, Stephen. Hope everybody's doing good. Hey, if you want, you can post your dividends in Discord. We have a channel for that. I know everybody seems to like when I post mine on Instagram. I always like posting them. It's never to brag, but to encourage other people. I know when I first saw a dividend payment and it was over $1,000, I was like, what do you mean? You didn't do shit for that? I mean, it blew my mind. And that's as a young man. My family, we didn't come up talking about stocks, okay? So maybe in your family you did, but in my family we didn't. I had to learn all that stuff on my own. And that's why one of the pillars, I think it's pillar number 7, is never stop learning. Let's see. Let's get back to the chart here. All right, we looked at gold. Gold's running. I would start taking some down. Look at the silver. Come on, man. Man, I hope I didn't lose internet here. All right, doesn't look like I lost internet. Let's try it again. There we go. Silver. This is one we've been trading for a while. Now, if you're in the MFG with me, let's say you're not in these trades. You're like, Gerald, I'm not in the bond trade. I'm not in the gold trade. I'm not in the silver trade. That's all right. Just stay with it. We're going to move in and out of these throughout time. Okay. So I'm going to trade gold the rest of my life. I'm going to trade silver the rest of my life. I'm going to trade bonds the rest of my life. Trade fucking Bitcoin the rest of my life. And so I have all these things that I'm trading. Now, you can't just trade 50 things until your brain is ready to handle trading 50 things, right? And so take your time with this. Take your time. Our second income stream, that's one little bucket over here. Trading, that's a bucket. Position trading to me is a whole thing, separate bucket. Buy and hold, traditional buy and hold dividend portfolios. I mean, the nature of that seems to be changing. We have all these new products that have come on with between Defiance and YieldMax and Eros, whatever that company's called. Shit is changing, guys. And I'm learning it as you are. I try to stay on top of everything, and they're coming out with more funds. As a side note in the CIS, we don't need 50 of the exact same fund. We don't need 50 different companies' S&P options fund. That doesn't make any sense. When you could allocate that money to hedging, or you could allocate that money to having there's just better things to do than buying So, I'm trying to keep it simple. I'll keep an eye on some of those other ones. And if they just are drastically outperforming, then absolutely we want to add them. But, I saw a guy the other day and he had like 90 something funds in his CIS thing. I'm just like, okay, well, I don't. So I don't know what all these others you have are. there's nothing wrong with spreading your money out, but you just got to understand that you can't then let that stress you out. Hey, that kind of rhymed. All right, so here we are. We're up 60-something% in that AGQ. Should be, I think, it could be way more than that, depending on when you got in. Might be way north of that. Anyway, that's silver. Let's keep going. Silver, gold. Dow Industrial. You know, Dow's over here. Where's my goddamn... Sorry, guys. I'm losing controls here. Dow's over here at $45,514. I'm going to tell you, man, that is pretty... Let me see what is going on here.
This is USA Tonight with Brad Holbrook.
Good evening. Today is Black Monday, the day the Dow dropped more than 500 points, the day the Dow dropped more than 22%, almost double the rate of the Black Monday that signaled the beginning of the crash of 1929. But this crash of 1987 is not just an American experience. Around the world, stock markets fell faster than a skydiver without a parachute. The panic starting in Tokyo this morning while the West slept. One cause of the sell-off was reaction to last week's 236-point drop in the Dow. The result, the Nikkei average was down 260 yen. Then, like a plague, sell fever headed west. In Frankfurt, fears of higher interest rates in the U.S. triggered the drop there. In 2.5 hours of trading, the Commerzbank share index fell 132 points. In London, an even larger drop. The British market, trying to cope with Friday's national computer failure, was thrown into a near panic. The result, the London Financial Times index down more than 183, the biggest one-day drop in Britain's history. And from there to Wall Street, where the numbers speak for themselves. Unofficially, the Dow stands at 1738.41, a drop of more than 508 points, with a volume of more than 604 million shares. Proof, as Alec Roberts reports, that the panic hit a fevered pitch.
From the opening bell, the market was in free fall. After last Friday's record 108-point loss, analysts had expected a rally. Instead,
it's a panic. Everyone's in panic. Everybody, we're trying to find a bottom. We're trying to, as a floor broker, I see stocks trading 10 points below where they traded Thursday, and I'm saying this has to be the bottom. And then they trade 5 points lower than that.
By noon, the market was down about 150 points. The tape delayed by more than an hour. But it only got worse as trading brokers struggled to cope with a blizzard of sell orders.
New Mexico, we have some work here to do.
Since the market hit a high of 2,722.
Bam! Man, oh man, oh man. I like watching those old clips, historical clips, seeing them freaking out. Dow was down 500 points, but when the Dow was 1,700, a 500 drop is pretty goddamn big. About 30% of your portfolio. I don't know if you know this or not. If you bring myself back up, if you go over to E-Trade, inside of E-Trade, I don't remember exactly where it's at. Man, I need to get a haircut. It was a portfolio test. You can have your portfolio simulated of what would have happened in 87 or what would have happened in the 2000 crash. You can have it check your portfolio against that. It's kind of neat, I think. Kind of neat, man. Kind of neat. My man's asking about Nike. Yeah, I think a bunch of us are in Nike since Nike was on the keeps popping up on the dogs of the Dow list. If you go to page 38, like we talked about earlier of the petersreport.com, and you look at my homework board, one thing about what did I do with it now? Right here. And if you're looking at my homework board, boom. Right over in here, you can see it better. If you're on my subscription on Instagram too, man, I always post this stuff back there for those guys. This right here are the dogs of the Dow, but if I don't know if you know this or not, but I do this weekly. So you can run the dogs of the Dow. You don't have to do it yearly. You can run that list and it'll resort. It takes the 30 stocks of the Dow and sorts them by the highest dividend yield and then ranks them, 1 through 10. And then boom. And then there's such thing as the small dogs. That's only 5. And this is actual trading strategy. And all I do is I track all of these because these are blue chip dividend stocks. These are also great for erosion trades in your SIST account. You want to offset some erosion, but keep it high quality, keep it blue chip, keep it dividends. These 10 stocks are great ones to trade. I mean, Verizon, Chevron. So something to keep in mind. You want to keep up with the dogs of the Dow. Yeah, I mean, there's just not a good reason not to. And it's a great way to start learning the stock market. All right, so the Dow's just slowly creeping higher. Creepy old man here. What else we got? Damn, look at old Bohr. Man, that's on the weekly though, huh? Yeah, old Bohr's, look at this. I put this on the weekly chart and look where today it hit right where I seen it would hit and pause, and that's what it appears to be doing. We're going to ride that thing to $6-7, man. All right, we're going to ride that. That's side note. I didn't mean to get into stocks here. Let's see. We looked at gold. Look at the S&P. S&P, I say over here, attempted a breakout on the previous high, but the previous high holds. So it's tried to push this little head over there, up in there. And, hey, there's a channel inside of Discord that just says S&P. I usually drop the weekly chart in there and throw some comments on what I think might happen. Try to do that more if we get some more viewership over there. Anybody, feel free, man. Post in there, talk about it, talk about what you see going on with the SPY. If you like to trade the SPY, talk about it. That's what that channel's for. I mean, you got to remember this is fractal, right? So maybe you like to trade on a 1 hour chart or a 30-minute chart, or day, you're a day trader, whatever, man. The money flows fractal, as is price, as is Bitcoin, right? A fractal is a never-ending pattern. Fractals are infinitely complex patterns that are self-similar across different scales. They are created by repeating a simple process over and over again in an ongoing feedback loop. Read that through a bunch of times, man. It's the very first paragraph inside of the Money Flow Trading System book, the Money Flow. You don't have that book, it's easy to get, man. I don't know how anybody would trade without it. Not that I mean, it's nothing in there is proprietary. I didn't invent anything. There's that. If you don't have it, you can go over there, geraldpeters.info. Nothing proprietary in there, man. It's just putting things together, man. Like Steve Jobs kind of did with the phone. I'm no Steve Jobs but I'm saying he put multiple things together into one thing. That's what we're trying to do there. And remember, you're layering it. It's going to take you time, guys. It takes time to trade. What's up, Michael Crow? We got a celebrity on the Instagram side of the game. Again, go geraldpeters.info. You can get that ebook. If you're on YouTube, we record and archive these always to YouTube. We're just covering the win today. I don't want to keep you guys too long. I've been absent online. I've had some health issues. Let's see. Probably going to be with me for a minute too. So if you'd like to be involved in the our Monday or Friday podcast here, or whatever you want to call it, that we do the Peters report on, let me know. Let's see. Does the stock market fire a passion in you? Have you ever wished that on the weekend would end sooner so you could make a trade that you've been planning? I know I always hate the weekends. Have you ever dreamed that the market would open? I'm just reading through this guy's cover of his book here. I have done all of those. Thank God we got crypto now. All right, so here's chart of, is that the updated one? Hold on. All right, so back to the SPY. Yeah, the SPY, it's tried to push up. We've tried to break the previous high one time. I think we're going to go sideways here. I don't know, but the RSI is only 60. I mean, that's pretty good. And if you notice, the TSI has been coming down. I put that on the, I don't know if you noticed this chart in Discord there in the SPY channel, but I said price is holding steady while the histogram shrinks. If the TSI was flat to bearish, I'd call it divergence between the indicators and price, but we'll see what happens. My man says, I'm low-key not understanding the money flow. Bro, you got to get the eBook. Appreciate you, Frank. Appreciate you. You're yeah, you got to get the eBook, bro. Man, I wouldn't even let another day go by. Ronnie. Oh, I see you there with the professor. That's cool. All right. What else we got here? NASDAQ. I think everybody knows what's up with the NASDAQ. Pretty much same picture as the SPY, continuing to drift higher. RSI 61, same old thing. I think where the next move here is going to come from Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is setting up right now. We pushed up this last bar, pushed up. I don't know if you're on my, let's see. I don't know if you're on my Bitcoin newsletter or not. Ain't no cost to be on it. It's a new product. Hey, what's up, brother? Says just renewed my membership. Appreciate what you put together for us, man. I appreciate you, man. I really do, for being there and helping us do it. Picked up some Adobe today. That was a good one. Good move there, sir. This is the Bitcoin, the MFG Bitcoin Trade Report, GP. I'm wanting it. You're probably, if you're in the Discord, me, if you're in over here, I talked about I got a loan going with my Bitcoin. I borrowed against Bitcoin, and when Bitcoin started pulling back here, you know, I'm just showing you. I was getting, you get messages saying, "Hey, your shit's your collateral. You might have to put more in," and that nothing to freak out about. That's what happens when you use margin. I showed you the interest rate, and it changed. It goes up and down, man. It's pretty interesting though. Just try these things out. You know, I would encourage you to do that. Sometimes people, I don't know how you would borrow. Well, just borrow against $200. You know, borrow out $100 and see how it works. Push some buttons. You know, get in there, and you know, I've been doing a lot of trading with the futures contracts for oil and gold and Bitcoin, because then that frees up my capital in the stock market. And then I can use less money, leverage 10, 20 to 1 or whatever to trade Bitcoin and gold and things. I don't necessarily want to sit around with a bunch of gold, but if I could trade in and out of the price movement of gold, that's what I want to do. So right now I'm long gold futures contracts. Hey, appreciate it. Dan said, hit the like button. That would help me out. Take it, you sausage thumbs. But yeah, if you can go there, click on it. It's free right now, man. I think I've been doing some writing on there too, just some sillier stuff. And I think we did some doing some chart updating over there. Might do some more. I'm trying to think on some different ways to get the trade signals out besides texting. They've just passed some new laws here in Texas to try to fuck with people who live in Texas, I guess. All right, so back to it's a daily of Bitcoin. We're on the verge of a breakout. If breakout happens here, we're at 11,100 11,557 and a possible target of 122,000, 125, I imagine is where I anticipate it gets to. I don't think there's any problem with us getting to 200,000 by the end of the year. That sounds crazy, I know, but mathematically, it's not that big a problem. It really is not.
Sense to me, if I look at what the bond market's pricing, which is now essentially 3 cuts, and the Fed is talking about 2, the bond market is saying the Fed is behind in terms of how they're perceiving these changing conditions. And so I think on the 17th, when the FOMC makes its rate decision,
that's coming up.
I think there is a chance the Fed responds to that. And if it does, it's going to be good news, because the bond market is going to take comfort from the Fed of recognizing the labor market's weakening.
Hey, Tom, even if the Fed cuts rates, it controls the short end, but not the long end. What do you anticipate happens on the longer end? And what do you think happens to the mortgage market, too, as a result?
The long end is something to wonder about, because we know globally, the 30-year especially has crept up. And we know that the Fed and other central banks have acknowledged that monetary policy has a lot of influence up until 5-year. The correlation is 90%. But once you get into the 10-year, the bond market is making its own decisions about growth. That is something kind of troubling. But on the other hand, I think mortgage rates could come down sharply, because the spread between the 30-year mortgage and the 10-year is over 300 basis points. The 50-year average is around 160. So the Fed, if it begins to resume cutting and the bond market views that as essentially an easing trend, the 30-year mortgage could drop 150 basis points if the 10-year doesn't even move. That's a lot of easing for the housing market.
That is a big deal. And I know you're not an economist, but you have to have a view on where you think the economy is headed. If we get these Fed cuts and the economy, doesn't take a steep leg down, despite what we've seen with the jobs market, that's one thing. But if we get these cuts and you're also dealing with a slowing economy, potentially even a recession down the road, I mean, that's a completely different story. You looking at these Fed cuts as for good reasons, because we can do it and get away with it and it's going to improve the economy, or you looking at this and thinking, I worry about what comes on the other side?
I'm going to take the camp that I think that these cuts are actually going to be very constructive for the economy, because the 30-year mortgage is strangulating the economy. We know housing has slowed dramatically, but we also know that there's a lot of pent-up demand for housing. So it's a market that does need to be fixed in terms of easing sort of supply-demand conditions. And we also know that ISM, which is a measure of business.
We just said there's a demand for housing, but housing is kind of locked up right now. There's no houses selling in my area. I've got 15 houses for sale, not even a decent offer. Physical copy, you don't have to die broke. Man, I don't know if we have any in, but it's usually like 20, 25 bucks, something like that. Send me a text message, man. Send me a text message, and I'll see if we have any. All right, so inside of the wind, the 7 major assets of the world, we got Bitcoin, we got oil, we got bonds, right? What else we got? We got the Dow Jones, the NASDAQ, that's your technology stocks, the S&P 500, big swoosh of the 500 greatest companies in America. Dow Jones represents the Dow Jones 30 industrial, and the NASDAQ represents technology. You could add, you could go small caps in there, mid cap. You could keep going, but these are the major, the 7 wins. I feel like I missed one. Let's see. Bitcoin. I don't know if we really went over oil, did we? Well, the USO is the U.S. oil fund. Probably the easiest way to track the price of oil. Honestly, you could do $ Brent, which is what I have here. $ Brent. It's going to be the end of the day. You see it was up 1.08%. Okay, that's Brent. And then what if we looked at the USO oil fund that you can actually buy? It was up only 0.5%. Now, the one, if I was trading this, the UCO is a 2 or 3x leverage. I think it's 2x. And then oil, so there's a lot of ways to play this, right? One reason, and it is not, this is a stage 1/4 happening right here. You see, we had our anchor point, we had our stage 1, our entry, we got 4 bars, we got price over the 5-period exponential moving average there. We got price breaking out. It broke out the 20. So our target's going to be that $80, $81 range. That's a swing trade. Same thing we did over here. Same thing we did there. Same thing there, right? Except it stops and then it comes back. Now in day trading, I'm out. I'm out right there. I mean, as soon as that motherfucker doesn't hit. Yeah, Daniel's saying tree still running. We've made some money on the tree. Now, I need to talk about these more, but I'd put in the newsletter and we had talked about that these interest rates go down. You're going to see shit like Tree, Rocket Mortgage, Tree, and any of our other, you could have some business development companies in there like PNNT, just off the top of my head that I own. And then you could have mortgage REITs like AGNC and ARR and REM and more MRRT. All of these type of things, they're connected to the interest rate. They will generate business because more people are going to go in. They're going to refinance. The banks are going to start getting more business. The lenders, everybody gets more business when interest rates go down because more people borrow money. Makes sense. More money being borrowed, more money circulates to the economy, more money because they're going to have to hire people and buy component parts and production, makes sense, right? Same when it stops. And housing can stop the economy and housing can start the economy. It is one of the major component engine components, like one of the cylinders of a car. You need them all running. It'll run with 4 or whatever, but it ain't going to run very well. So we need oil. There's a sweet spot to oil, kind of where it's at. This $70 makes the oil company shit tons of money. They pay out fat dividends, and the price isn't high enough to mess up the American economy. That is why everyone loves $70 oil. As a trader, it's fucking boring. That's the problem.
Last August, it lost 17.5% of its value to 22.46 by Friday, and another 508 points today. More and more analysts believe that the bear market is here to stay. It's not that the economic news is so much worse. In fact, some indicators are showing unexpected strength. It's the psychology that's changed. While for 5 years, investors have looked at the economy as a glass that is half full, now they're seeing it as half empty. Reasons for the decline have been floating around for months. An accident waiting to happen, according to one analyst. Renewed inflation fears with a decline in the dollar. A nation living for too long beyond its means. The results of the decline will hit millions of people in their investments, pension plans, their mutual funds, and eventually every segment of the economy. Higher interest rates, for example, will hurt the housing market. Even normally optimistic analyst Larry Wachtel doesn't see a quick recovery.
What usually happens in cases like these where the psychology has been so scarred is that once there is a technical rally back in which people unload on the rally, and you go through a long quiet period. The people that got out don't want to get in.
It all figured out.
The people that wanted to get in aren't sure about the going to get in now. As you go through a long, quiet convalescence period.
I haven't heard
President
that word
Reagan,
in a
however,
long
was more
time.
optimistic.
Convalescent. Wow. All right, so that's oil. That's oil. All indicators are now turning bullish. Stage 2 breakout underway. Where the fuck did I write that? Oh, it's back here. We better take that down. Boom. A possible stage 1. We have support. Oh, that got moved. Support and stop loss zone. Boom. This level doesn't hold. Yeah. So this level doesn't hold. I don't know why that got pushed up there. But this is the level that we've been playing all along, man. I mean, this level's been holding, so I anticipate it holds. I don't know, but right now the momentum's to the downside according to the MACD histogram, and we just got a bullish crossover or a bearish crossover with the TSI True Strength Index. So it's just a lot of mix. But look what's happening. We're trading in a channel. So we did that here for a minute and then bust out. We'll see. They could bust down or bust out. Really, it just can. Let's see. Where are we at on the VIX? VIX at 15.11. That's no fear. Been just traveling along that line there for all year, man. Somebody, Sugarlump says UNH coming back, baby, up 14%. I think we tagged the bottom on that one, didn't we? We tagged the bottom on a bunch of these recent ones, man.
Of Bitcoin this morning, the cryptocurrency up over 100% this year. Joining us right now is Bitcoin bull Michael Saylor, strategy executive chairman. You know him from MicroStrategy. People are still getting those names, figured out. So we had Tom Lee on the broadcast. I don't know if you saw this earlier today, and he effectively said Bitcoin at $111,000 is headed to $200,000 effectively by Christmas. What do you think of that?
Well, most of the equity analysts that follow our stock have target prices for Bitcoin, and they're all north of 150. Bitcoin represents a digital transformation of the capital markets. And so the more people know about it, the more they get educated on it, the more companies embrace it, the higher it goes. You can't make any more of it.
Right. That may be all. But in terms of just what you're seeing in terms of flows and whatnot, that would get it to $200,000 by the end of the year.
Yeah, great flows from the ETFs. BlackRock is showing record numbers. Our companies raised $19 billion this year.
Right.
All of it went into Bitcoin. We just announced $217 million of Bitcoin purchases this morning before I walked onto this set here.
Wait, 217 million this morning?
217 million, just slightly less than 2,000 Bitcoin. Our first buy, and we were the first public company to buy Bitcoin, we bought $250 million of Bitcoin, and that was like all the money we'd come up with in 30 years.
Yeah.
And this was just a short week, 4 days.
Okay, so can I ask you this? For those folks who are investing in MicroStrategy, or strategy, I should say, as opposed to Bitcoin, you are effectively a levered bet on Bitcoin. That's what this company has become.
That's
Fair?
correct.
Okay, so the question is, on the way up, it would be it's fabulous, right? Because everything becomes, multiplied. What happens on the way down, if there is a down?
Well, a lot of investors, they have to buy equity. And so we offer Bitcoin-backed equity, or they need to buy credit. And so we have 4 Bitcoin-backed credit instruments, preferred stocks. So the ones that are risk averse, that want the exposure, are buying the credit, like Strike, which has got the upside with some downside protection. The ones that are buying the equity want.
All right. So that's old Michael Saylor doing the Michael Saylor show. Let's see. So he's back to 150 Bitcoin. I brought that up just to lead into. I just posted it there in on the comments there in YouTube. I'll put it down in the show notes too, I guess, for the MFG Bitcoin trade report. There's no cost on this. I'm just trying to see if there's interest in it or not. But we sent this email out today. MFG, I hope you had a great and productive weekend. I often say weekends for getting rich. It's just time you can use to focus on dreams, goals, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we get in that. I'm adding a lot of I think there's a lot of mindset that's necessarily you need to have in Bitcoin, man. So trying to just work on that side of I think that's important, really, getting your mind around the concept of Bitcoin from a philosophical point of view, not technical. So this week we saw the president's family continue to cash in on crypto with the IPO of American Bitcoin. The Trump brothers' stake briefly topped $2.6 billion. So congratulations to the Trump family, added another few billion to the coffers. Labor hate them. The family has placed themselves on the right side of history, and so far they have been a friend to the crypto market. If you're not subscribing, get subscribed there. And then I think this. Well, we only had 5 or 6 things that really were important. News that I thought was important. American Bitcoin IPO. I'm sure there'll be lots of federal investigations and raids on that in the next presidency. U.S. Bank Court relaunches institutional Bitcoin studies. So that's cool. They're back in it. So all the common characters who like to make money in the big banks are all jumping on this Bitcoin thing with us. And they're going to push it. We even got Harry Dent. Harry Dent, this motherfucker's always negative. Harry Dent sees Bitcoin and Bitcoin-related technologies potentially disrupting a massive 630 trillion global financial asset market, but not overnight. This is a picture of some raccoons that I took playing cards. Now, they're dead and were stuffed, and they're in a window. I don't know if they'd want to play cards like that, but and the reason I brought this up is I actually talked today about inflows and little chart of Bitcoin, what we're looking at, but breaking down how Bitcoin ETF growth is reshaping institutional access. The speed in which this is happening compared to gold is astro-fucking-nomical. It's already at 160 billion in Bitcoin and ETFs, and there's like 180 in gold, and it's going much faster. But yet gold is the leading asset class in the world right now, man. And that's just the way it is. That's the win, man. I appreciate everybody who came on tonight and participated. If you're interested in, let's hear what the president got to say real quick, though.
Where our productivity is up, so is our manufacturing product up. There is no runaway inflation as there has been in the past. So, as I say, I don't think anyone should panic.
In New York, this is Alec Roberts reporting.
What do you do with the Bitcoin besides it just gather value?
Real estate developers in New York City, they're not buying the real estate because they want to live in it.
But like most of the people who are buying assets at some point want to sell the assets at a profit.
People that use fiat.
Hey, but if you would, man, click like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Let me know. Hey, leave a comment. That helps too. If you don't have our book, get over there and go to geraldpeters.info or petersreport.com, man.
Currency as a store of value. We call them poor. We call them poor. People that use fiat currency, we call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. We call them poor. There's a name for them. We call them poor. Okay.